So imagine for a second just being born into absolute high society. You know, you are destined from day one for this life of immense wealth, classical music, total comfort.
Right. The path is completely set for you.
Exactly. But then a sudden agonizing physical paralysis completely rewrites your destiny. Like it just shatters the script you were handed.
Oh, absolutely. It
Mhm.
forces you to stare at the ceiling for half a year, just wondering what your life is actually for.
Yeah. And it's the kind of profound crisis that, well, it either breaks a person completely or it forces this radical reevaluation of what human existence is supposed to be about.
Mm-hmm. When all that armor of privilege is just stripped away, you find out exactly what is underneath.
Which is exactly what we are carrying into today. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are going to map out the biographical sources of Blessed Maria Romero Meneses.
A fascinating figure, really, truly unique.
Yeah, we're unpacking exactly how a young girl from Nicaragua who, lost her expected future in just a matter of months became the very first beatified person from Central America.
And earned that incredible title, the social apostle of Costa Rica.
Right, and what is so compelling here isn't just the sheer scale of what she accomplished. I mean, it's the mechanics of how she did it. She effectively created this blueprint for building a bridge between the ultra-rich and the extremely destitute.
Which, as we know, is an incredibly difficult thing to do. I mean, we often see charity as this very transactional thing, right? The wealthy just writing a check from a safe distance.
Yeah, keeping their hands clean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But her methodology was entirely different. She forced proximity. She made people get close.
And it's wild to track how her own severe physical suffering, the kind that literally stops you in your tracks, became the ultimate catalyst for this unique approach to social work.
It really did. But to understand her psychological toolkit, we need to look at the environment that forged her first, because the contrast between her beginnings and her legacy is just staggering.
So true. Let's get into the human origins here. According to the sources, her official name at birth was Maria Romero Meneses, born on January 13th, 1902, in Granada, Nicaragua.
Right. To Felix Romero Arana and Ana Meneses Blandon. And she was baptized exactly a week later.
And from the jump, I mean, this was a family with serious status.
Very much so. They were solidly upper middle class, possibly even higher if you look at that specific regional context. Her father, Felix, he was actually a minister in the government of the Republic.
Okay, so they had real political power.
Political power and serious financial security.
Mm.
But the specific culture within that privileged household is really what sets the stage for Maria's entire worldview.
How so?
Well, her father was known for being exceptionally generous to those who had absolutely nothing.
Okay, so she isn't just growing up in this, like, bubble of detached wealth.
No, not at all.
She is observing this specific dynamic from day one, possessing great resources, but also witnessing this practical, hands-on obligation to the poor.
Exactly. It wasn't just some theoretical concept for her. It was lived out. But at the same time, we do have to acknowledge she was still being groomed for a very traditional elite life.
Right, the whole unsaintly youth phase, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't out partying or fighting in wars, but her worldly ambitions were definitely tied to her class. She was taking piano and violin lessons.
Groomed for high society.
Completely.
Yeah.
The expectation was cultural refinement, eventually marrying within her social class, and just continuing that cycle of prosperity.
But then the floor just falls out. There is this massive worldly conflict that hits the family early on.
Right. Her father, despite his high government position, is actually cheated out of a significant amount of money.
And this wasn't just like a temporary dip in the stock market for them.
No, it plunged the entire family into severe, ongoing economic problems. All those grand dreams of wealth and prosperity for Maria just suddenly gone.
Which honestly feels like it could be the inciting incident for a villain origin story. I mean, usually when a prominent family loses their wealth, the narrative is about desperately, ruthlessly trying to climb back up the social ladder. It's like a reverse Cinderella story.
Or it breeds this deep generational bitterness.
Yeah. But for Maria, this crash seems to have done the exact opposite. How did she process that kind of whiplash?
Well, you have to look back at the model her father provided, because he had already demonstrated that money was a tool for generosity rather than just a status symbol.
So the loss of the wealth didn't destroy her core identity.
Exactly. Instead, it just removed that financial buffer between her and the real world. It placed her so much closer to the reality of the poor she would later serve.
Wow. So it was her first real practical lesson in detachment.
Yes. She learned very early that true security doesn't actually come from a bank account.
It grounded her. But, losing family wealth is one thing. Losing your own physical autonomy, that is something else entirely.
Oh, absolutely.
And that brings us to the real catalyst. The second, far more severe shock that permanently altered her trajectory.
The turning point crisis. The year is 1914. Maria is just 12 years old.
Just a kid. I mean, think about the energy of a typical 12-year-old.
And she contracts a severe case of rheumatic fever.
Oh, man.
Now, rheumatic fever, it's an inflammatory disease that can develop after an infection, and it causes this excruciating joint pain and inflammation. The records we have describe her condition as agonizing.
And it wasn't just pain, right?
No, she was entirely paralyzed for 6 months.
See, I can't even fathom the psychological toll of that. You have a 12-year-old girl previously studying piano and violin, highly active, and suddenly she's trapped in her own body.
Unable to move.
For half a year. That amount of forced stillness, it has to completely rewire how you view time and how you view your own fragility.
It absolutely does. I mean, when you are paralyzed, you are entirely dependent on others for your most basic needs. You experience this profound vulnerability.
Yeah.
And the tragic part is, the physical toll didn't end when the paralysis eventually lifted.
Right, because of the heart damage.
Yes. The rheumatic fever left her with severe, permanent heart damage. Her heart valves were compromised, and that is an affliction she would carry for the rest of her life. Her physical capability was forever altered.
But the recovery from the paralysis itself that was deemed miraculous by those around her, wasn't it?
Yes, it was attributed specifically to Our Lady Help of Christians. And this right here is the definitive breaking point.
The dramatic break from her old society.
Exactly. She regains her mobility, but she does not go back to the piano bench.
Right. The illness just killed whatever worldly ambitions she might have still harbored. She abandons that path entirely. Like, instead of chasing a musical career or trying to marry back into wealth, she makes this huge pivot.
A total renunciation of the old plan.
In 1920, she commits to religious life and joins the Daughters of Mary Help of Christians, commonly known as the Salesian Sisters.
Which is an order specifically focused on helping poor and at-risk young people.
And there's this quote from the sources during her novitiate in El Salvador, which is that intense training period before officially taking vows, right?
Yes, the novitiate.
So her spiritual director there, Father Emilio Bottari, he gives her a warning that honestly gave me chills.
Oh, I know the one.
He told her, even though difficult moments will come and you will feel torn to pieces, be faithful and strong in your vocation.
It is a highly prophetic warning. I mean, he is looking at this young woman with a severely compromised heart who has chosen a life of intense physical and emotional labor.
Yeah, he sees what's coming.
He is anticipating the immense friction she's going to face, not just from the world, but from the sheer exhaustion of the path she is choosing.
And the irony here is just staggering. Because of the rheumatic fever, her literal physical heart is permanently damaged. It's weakened. It is a failing organ.
Right.
Yet, this is the exact moment her metaphorical heart expands to take on the immense suffering of an entire marginalized population.
It's beautiful, really. Her physical capacity shrinks, but her capacity for empathy becomes boundless.
Yeah.
And armed with this new spiritual resilience, she is deployed to a new battleground. Yes. In 1931, the Salesian Sisters assign her to San Jose, Costa Rica.
And this is where I got genuinely confused when looking at the timeline.
How so?
Okay, so she joins an order dedicated to the poor, right? She has this profound empathy for the destitute, and where do they send her? To a local college to teach music, art, and typing to the daughters of very rich families.
Right.
That almost sounds like a punishment. They placed her right back into the elite society she had just walked away from.
On the surface, yeah, it looks like a massive mismatch of her talents. But this is actually where her unique background becomes her absolute greatest weapon.
Okay, unpack that.
Well, think about it. How does someone with a specific charism for the poor operate in an environment of extreme wealth? She didn't reject her wealthy students.
Yeah.
She didn't resent them for having the comfort she lost.
She utilized them.
She weaponized their privilege.
I love that. Break that down for me, because usually when a charity organization engages the wealthy, it's a guilt trip followed by a request for a donation.
Exactly, and that is a very limited model. Maria essentially operated like a spiritual venture capitalist. Instead of asking the wealthy parents for a one-time charitable payout, she asked their daughters for sweat equity.
Wow.
She recruited her best, wealthiest students and called them Las Misioneritas, the little missionaries.
And they weren't just hosting high society bake sales, from what the sources say.
No, not at all. She took these high society girls and sent them straight into the poorest slums. She brought them into the literal dirt huts of the absolute destitute.
So these privileged young women are suddenly cleaning dirt floors.
Cleaning floors, distributing food, teaching literacy, and teaching catechism.
Which is a staggering reversal of social norms for the 1930s. I mean, how did she actually pull that off? I can't imagine the wealthy parents of Costa Rica were thrilled about their teenage daughters scrubbing floors in dangerous neighborhoods.
Oh, there was definitely friction. But she got them to buy in by inspiring the daughters first.
Going straight to the kids.
Right. When you are young and wealthy, you have comfort, but you often lack profound purpose. Maria offered them a sense of meaning that their wealth alone couldn't provide.
That makes so much sense.
And when the parents saw the genuine transformation in their own children, this newfound maturity and compassion, their resistance crumbled. The daughter's enthusiasm broke down the parents' defenses.
And once the parents bought in, Maria had access to their capital.
Their capital, their networks, their influence, all of it.
She basically made them co-investors in the slums. That is operational brilliance. Like a spiritual Robin Hood, but transforming the rich instead of stealing from them.
Exactly. And she scaled this mission aggressively. I mean, she set up 36 festive oratories.
36. And for those not familiar with the term, in the Salesian tradition, an oratory isn't just a chapel, right?
Right. It's a youth center. It's a place for recreation, education, and distribution of food for poor kids. 36 of them. Plus, she built a highly functional clinic.
And notice how she staffed that clinic. She didn't have the budget to hire top-tier doctors.
So she convinced specialist medical professionals, again, leveraging her high society network, to volunteer their time to treat the destitute for free.
It's incredible. And all of this culminates in the 1970s with her most massive infrastructure project. The sources call it the Ciudadelas de Maria Auxiliadora.
Yes.
We aren't talking about a soup kitchen here. She built an entire village. It started with 7 homes to give decent, permanent housing to families she literally pulled from under bridges.
And the village grew to have a market, a school, a church. She took the privilege of the elite and used it to build massive social infrastructure.
And remember the physical reality of the woman driving all of this. She's coordinating land deals, managing volunteer rotas, overseeing construction, and navigating class politics, all while operating with a severely damaged heart.
It requires an iron will.
Which begs the question, where is she getting the fuel for that iron will? Because burnout in social work is incredibly high, even today.
Oh, totally.
But looking into her private life, it becomes clear that while she was building physical houses with surgical precision, her internal life was deeply, surreally supernatural.
Yes. Let's talk about the mystical phenomena. The historical records describe her as a contemplative in action. Her exterior life was this whirlwind of logistics, but her interior life was intensely mystical.
We know this primarily through her Escritos Espirituales, her spiritual writings.
Her diaries, yes.
Yeah.
Which are described by biographers as a true diary of the soul. They reveal a level of intense adoration and genuine mystical experiences. She famously referred to Jesus in the Eucharist as her king and Mary, Help of Christians, as her queen.
And this wasn't just standard polite piety.
No, it was a visceral, direct connection to the divine.
And according to the historical accounts, this connection didn't just stay in her diary. It manifested in tangible, miraculous ways during her lifetime.
The lifetime miracles.
Yeah, the most famous example being the miraculous water at the House of the Virgin, which was the social work center she founded in Costa Rica.
Right. There are numerous documented testimonies of people drinking this water with great faith and receiving both physical and spiritual healings.
Now, for a modern audience, claims of miraculous water can immediately trigger skepticism. It sounds like something from the Middle Ages.
Sure, the modern mindset is very seeing is believing. Show me the clinical trial, then I will believe the water worked.
Exactly. But her perspective on these events is what grounds them, and it completely flips that modern expectation upside down. There is a key quote from her that is absolutely central to understanding her worldview.
Yes, I know the one.
She said, "Faith produces miracles. It is not miracles that produce faith."
Faith produces miracles. It is not miracles that produce faith. That is such a huge psychological paradigm shift. She's saying believing is what allows you to see.
Exactly. She understood that the supernatural isn't a magic trick meant to convince skeptics or bypass human effort. It is a byproduct of a pre-existing, deeply rooted trust.
The water itself didn't force people to believe. Rather, Their profound belief allowed the water to act as a conduit for healing. She wasn't dealing in magic. She was dealing in the architecture of faith.
It highlights this incredible duality in her life. Usually when we think of mystics, we imagine cloistered monks or nuns hidden away in caves behind thick stone walls, completely detached from the messy realities of the world.
Right, floating in constant prayer.
But she was out there negotiating zoning permits, organizing medical supplies, and dealing with contractors. She had one foot firmly planted in heaven and the other foot wearing steel-toed boots on a construction site.
That balance is incredibly rare. To maintain that level of spiritual intensity while dealing with the mundane, often infuriating frustrations of construction and fundraising, it's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And as we established, that relentless drive was housed in a very fragile physical vessel.
Which brings us to the inevitable physical toll. The final moments. This balancing act of intense physical exertion and spiritual intensity eventually caught up with the heart that had been damaged all the way back when she was 12 years old.
Yeah. By mid-1977, her physical reserves were entirely depleted. She was completely exhausted. Her superiors recognized this and sent her back to her home country, to Las Penitas in León, Nicaragua, for a much-needed rest.
But the damage was simply too extensive. Her body couldn't recover. On July 7, 1977, at the age of 75, she died of a fatal heart attack.
And the reaction to her death from both the secular state and the Catholic Church was profound and immediate. The timeline for her canonization, the official process of declaring someone a saint, it moved with incredible speed.
Which is a huge testament to the undeniable impact of her life. Let's break down that canonization timeline because the Church usually moves in centuries, not decades.
Very true. The beatification process officially started in 1988, just 11 years after her death. By the year 2000, she was declared venerable.
And for those unfamiliar, being declared venerable is essentially the Church's official stamp saying an individual lived a life of heroic virtue. It is the crucial stepping stone before full sainthood.
Right. And then on April 14th, 2002, Pope John Paul II beatified her in St. Peter's Square.
Beatification is the step right after venerable, giving her the title blessed.
Yes. And we have to underscore the historical significance here. Blessed María Romero Meneses is the very first individual born in Central America to be beatified.
Wow. But her legacy transcends her specific religious order or even the Church itself, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. The government of Costa Rica, a secular body, recognized the sheer scale of the social infrastructure she built and officially declared her an honorary citizen of the nation.
That's amazing. And her physical remains also tell a story of ongoing connection. The fate of the relics. Her body rests in San José at the Casa de la Virgen, the very epicenter of the social work she poured her life into.
Right where she belongs.
Yeah. But there's also a more recent event that shows how her mission is still actively engaging people today. A relic of hers was actually donated by the Archbishop of Panama City to the Don Bosco Technical Institute.
And the context of that donation is key. It was specifically to create a new pilgrimage center for World Youth Day in 2019.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it wasn't designed to be just some static display in a glass case. It was structured as an interactive spiritual journey.
The sources mention that the pilgrims literally walk a path designed to make them see with the glasses and walk with the shoes of Sister Maria Romero.
Exactly, and a physical exercise in empathy.
It's amazing to me that even decades after her death, her remains are still being utilized as a physical bridge to connect young people to her radical mission.
It perfectly encapsulates her entire existence. From the moment she recovered from her paralysis, she was always a conduit. She was a bridge between the divine and the desperate, and a bridge between the incredibly wealthy and the completely forgotten.
Which, brings us to the reality of sitting here listening to this deep dive today. We live in a world that often feels deeply, irreconcilably divided by class, by wealth, and by ideology.
It really does.
It is incredibly easy to look at the massive gaps in our society, feel completely overwhelmed, and just succumb to paralysis.
But Blessed Maria proves that true social change requires two things that rarely exist in the same person. You need the spiritual vision to recognize the absolute dignity in every single human being, and the practical, operational grit to actually build the houses and clinics they need to survive.
Right. She didn't reject the elite. She converted their privilege into a tool for survival. She used whatever access and influence she had despite her severe physical limitations to bridge the gap. And I want to leave you, the listener, with one of the most striking quotes from her spiritual diaries. It's a thought that challenges our fundamental instinct to seek comfort, she wrote. To remain at peace, it is necessary to love while suffering and to suffer while loving.
It is a profound psychological challenge. We spend so much of our energy trying to build walls to avoid suffering, but she suggests that embracing it and channeling it through love is the only actual path to true peace.
Think back to that 12-year-old girl lying completely paralyzed in bed for 6 months, all her musical dreams evaporating. At the time, it must have felt like the absolute end of her world.
Without a doubt.
But consider how you handle your own moments of paralysis in life, when your plans are entirely shattered, when a crisis stops you dead in your tracks. Is it possible that those painful, terrifying moments might actually be the necessary catalyst for your true life's work? Something to mull over as you go about your day?